Good morning, welcome to Headline Focus here live on Core Politics with me, Rob Double. It is Friday the 16th of March 2018. Let's have a look at what's making the political news today. So this is pretty much the big story of the day. It's covering most of the papers as well. It's Jeremy Corbyn going against what is really now seems to be the political consensus in Westminster, but also the government's line. He's effectively saying in terms of this nerve agent attack, there is not enough evidence currently to blame Russia as the responsible party. Now, there's some confusion, however, because yesterday in the Commons he said the evidence points towards Russia, indicating that he was willing to accept that the government was right in that its assessment that Russia was the party to blame and therefore should have ramifications. However, he's done a Guardian piece today, if you pick up a Guardian, you'll be able to see it, where he urges politicians not to rush way ahead of the evidence and suggesting that Russian organised crime could yet be to blame. Now, he's also said we should not manufacture a division over Russia where none exists, and adds that we also should not resign ourselves to a new Cold War of escalating arms spending, proxy conflicts across the globe, and a McCarthyite intolerance of dissent. Now, the key thing here is the divisions this is causing in the Labour Party itself. Keir Starmer, the Brexit secretary, who has been historically very loyal to the Labour leader, actually went against him last night on BBC Question Time, saying that the Tory Prime Minister, Theresa May, had reached the right conclusion over her assessment of what happened over that nerve agent attack in Salisbury, and Russians' failure to offer any explanation when asked for the nerve agent attack shows it must be responsible, and saying that Russia should be called out, no ifs, no buts. Now, it's also worth saying as well that shadowed Foreign Secretary Emily Thornberry has also gone against leader Jeremy Corbyn on this, both, again, another very loyal member of the senior cabinet. And so this is going to be a really interesting issue today and probably going into the weekend, perhaps next week as well, as more revelations and information comes out in terms of what the government are doing and the security services and government sciences are doing in terms of working on actually pinpointing the exact blame. But certainly today expect more of those lines, and pick up a Guardian if you want to see his full opinion piece in it. Next up, NHS are due to be getting a tax boost. That is the reports coming through this morning. Tories are planning a Gordon Brown-style NHS tax rise to boost the health service. Now, the government is seriously considering hiking particularly national insurance by 1% to fund the investment, just as Gordon Brown, former Prime Minister, former Chancellor, did in 2002 under the Blair government, quoting here today in Politico, a senior Tory member saying health service funding is a live debate. We are looking at making an intervention in the health service at some point, and part of that will include a funding element. Finally, one more story today over this weekend. Now, it might also be Patrick's Day, so there's going to be a lot of revellers out on the streets and in the bars across Ireland and the UK. It will also, however, be hard work for the EU and UK negotiators. The transition deal is obviously on the cards in the council meeting on Friday next week, but the Irish border is still not fully resolved, and that is going to pose a problem in terms of actually getting a final agreement signed off by the EU 27. Now, the two sides' leading technical negotiators, Ollie Robbins for the UK and Sabine Weyand for the EU, are going to be going head-to-head in Brussels over the weekend to get the transition agreement over the line, specifically in terms of what's going to happen to the Irish border post-March 2019 in that transition period, and indeed beyond. Now, Brexit Secretary David Davis plans to fly to the Belgian capital, Brussels, on Sunday, meeting Michel Barnier on Monday. He said he's confident a deal will be found and will be struck. The EU27, however, broadly back what Ireland's view is and Ireland's opinion, which is that a transition deal at the EU Council meeting cannot be signed off unless the border issue is resolved and the UK makes firm commitments to the border in terms of ensuring there is no hard return to a hard border. Now, what does that mean? That means, in terms of the EU's perspective, is the UK accepting the premise that if there is no agreement, if no agreement happens, the fallback option will be to prevent a hard border by maintaining total regulatory alignment between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, something Theresa May has said no Prime Minister could ever agree to in terms of separating Northern Ireland from the rest of the UK mainland, creating a border in the Irish Sea. Perhaps this will be resolved this weekend. We hope it perhaps will be. But that's something to keep your eye on for Monday when the papers come out in the morning. That's pretty much it for today. And indeed this week, you're up to date. Don't forget you can find all the latest on what we're doing here on Core Politics on our Facebook page and Twitter right here. But from me and all the team here at Core London, have a fantastic weekend ahead.